Welcome back, listeners, to the Pleasure Principles podcast with me, your host, Sana. And this is a space where we explore the intersection of intimacy, embodiment, and more importantly, empowerment. Now, listeners, today I am joined by the remarkable Natalini. She's a creative force and former CEO who walked away from global power to reclaim her body, her pleasure, and her truth. So, I invite all of you to get ready for a raw, authentic conversation about transforming trauma into deep, sovereign pleasure. So, with that, Natalini, welcome to the show. And as always, it is such an honor to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Sana, for such a nice introduction. And thank you for having me. That's a very personal topic for me. It's something that immediately puts me in a very vulnerable place. But I'm very happy to share this moment with you and with your audience and to be very raw and open in this conversation.
Exactly. It is powerful to be vulnerable sometimes. So with that, you have openly shared about overcoming abuse, codependency, and addiction as well. So if it's okay with you, what was the moment that, first awakened you to the idea that sexual freedom and sovereignty were part of your healing, not just any kind of side effect?
I don't know if there was like one moment that took me there. It's been a long journey of that I'm still on, to be very honest with you. To reclaim my sovereignty, my freedom, my birthright. To experience, pleasure, to experience the gifts of my body, and to not be constricted in any way. And um, I've been on this journey for a couple of years now. It's been a very complicated, very difficult at times, very painful journey. But I feel like now I finally sort of found the right path, and I'm coming closer to that sort of promised land, you know. Um, but yeah, it's been a series of very dysfunctional relationships, basically throughout my whole life, where sexuality has been quite sort of dysfunctional, is the word I want to use, and that led me to question it. I couldn't understand why was this happening, and why did it keep repeating itself, and why am I feeling so much stress and fear and anxiety and shame and guilt around my own sexual pleasure and my own sexual needs. And it starts with a simple why, and then the whole world basically changes around you once you start following that why.
Absolutely. I so much connect with that. There has to be a why. If there is no why, then let me just be straightforward. There is no point of doing what you are, whether it's a
Mm.
healing or sharing your journey or your message, anything, or whether it's running your company. So, uh, Talin, if it's okay with you, were were these kind of or this uh, kind of confusion dilemma with your sexuality, was this marked by any kind of cultural factors or family related factors or any external factors?
I wouldn't say so, even though I'm now that I'm starting to observe these things in a much more intentional way. I'm realizing, I grew up in Bulgaria. which is a small Eastern European country. It stands between Turkey, Greece, and Romania. And in my country, I'm starting to realize there is a big judgment around the way women relate to sex. There is a very, very, very strong judgment around a woman claiming and owning and satisfying her sexuality. But and for sure that's played a role in my upbringing, and it's shaped sort of my way of relating to it. So for sure there is a cultural element, but it runs way deeper than that.
Hmm. Yeah, I understand that. And I especially understand that because, in India as well, so sexuality is something which is kind of stigmatized or looked down upon from a very negative viewpoint, especially for women. Um, I mean, even during your teenage years or when you are adulting up, it's been such a difficult journey for me as well personally. So I can completely relate with that. Okay, and Natalini, this is so beautiful. You teach and you practice self pleasure and energetic love making as tools for deep healing. So, let's say for listeners who could be curious, but they also feel kind of intimidated or really skeptical with both of these, where do you suggest they begin?
Um, you know, I've been celibate now for a year.
Mhm.
After the last relationship I came out of, I, it was a very troublesome, very complicated relationship. I was trying to navigate being in an open relationship, and it ended up being quite hurtful for me and quite traumatizing. But also like within that relationship, I was able to observe for the first time, observe my patterns, my toxicity, my ways in which, my early childhood experiences had conditioned me to really not value myself, to operate from a place of very, very low self-esteem, very low sense of self-worth, to really put myself in situations that are not safe, even, I would say. And coming out of that with all of this awareness for me was priceless, because now I had the opportunity to actually see myself, to meet myself, to understand that it's not, I mean, of course, my partners are hurtful, but I'm also fully responsible for who I allow into my life and who I attract into my life, and how I allow other people to treat me. And that realization was a very painful realization, because I sort of realized that it's not how men treat me, it's how I treat myself. And from there, after I had this like sort of insight, like an epiphany, I mean, it's so interesting because we theoretically understand these things, but there comes a moment where at some point they kind of like click in a physical way, like it's like you understand it with your body. And so I had that moment. I realized that everyone, first of all, that I have overly identified with the role of being a victim, being a victim of abuse, being a victim of whatever, toxic partners and so on and so forth. But then I also realized that I'm equally toxic, and I'm fully responsible for anyone that is part of my life. And so once this sort of deep realization kind of landed in my body, and it really kind of like, clicked in me, I thought to myself, I will not invite partners for a period of time. And instead, I will focus on building that intimate and sexual relationship with myself. And that's been a very interesting process and a very interesting journey, because one thing that I also learned along the way is that unless we're able to give ourselves the attention, the pleasure, the honoring, and the sort of appreciation that we're looking for in a lover, we need to be able to give this to ourselves first, just so that we sort of step into that place where we know that we are worthy of that. That this is our, not only are we worthy, it's our birthright. But it starts with you. It starts with yourself. And I'm very, very grateful. I had an incredible teacher. Her name is BB. Her Instagram is Planet BB. I really recommend for you to follow her and learn from her. She was the one who taught me that lesson. She gave me basically this um challenge to please myself the way I want my lovers to please me. And at the beginning, I realized that I don't even know what this means. I don't know. I actually don't know how I want to be pleased. So being in this intimate, very vulnerable, very kind of sensitive space with myself has been first of all illuminating, because I've been able to see parts of me that I was not aware of. But second, it's been so healing, because now I'm able to you know literally take myself on a date, if you wish, and really kind of show up for me the way I would like for a lover to show up for me, like that kind of the perfect first date, or the perfect whatever. I give it to myself, and so now I know what that looks like. I know what I want. I know how I want to be treated, and from here, I'm getting ready now, actually, to go back to dating and to experiencing this sort of pleasure with men.
That's beautiful, darling. And I can so much, I mean, I have so much to say about this because I'm not sure about all of the women, but, sometimes I uh, kind of, when I do self introspection, I do keep asking myself, why did I attract all the time the toxic men in my life? Why, I mean, is it like it's written in my fate, or is it the way the world is? And this journey of being with self, talking to myself, understanding my thoughts, my needs, my wants, whether it's sexual or it's spiritual, I mean, from the soul's perspective, or even emotional perspective, it really, got me into that phase of appreciating, maybe not so much, but at least gradual, little by little, step by step appreciation about myself.
Yes,
Because was
beautiful.
I was seeking external validations. If some guy will tell me, "Oh my goodness, you look so beautiful," okay, and then the other minute he's saying that, "Okay, you're not giving time to me. You're not talking to me all the time. Why do you have so much attitude?" Then I used to get into that rabbit hole of kind of judging myself. Why am I being, such, um, you know, a self absorbed person? I'm being too egoistic. Let me give my entire time to this guy, and I'll prove that I'll prove to him that I'm really worthy of, his time. So yeah,
Mm.
I totally agree with you.
There is a famous quote from Carl Jung, who's you know, considered the father of psychotherapy. And I'm not going to be able to quote it verbatim, but it goes something like, until we meet ourselves and our fear or our trauma, we're going to experience the same thing over and over again, and we will call it fate.
Hmm. Wow.
So it's not your fate. It's definitely not your destiny. It's something within you that has been programmed in a certain way, and it's attracting a certain experience, a certain dynamic, and it's attracting people that can give you that experience and that dynamic. And once you start meeting yourself, or you start going down there where the feelings are, where the trauma is, where the pain is, and start kind of reverse engineering whatever has been done, or whatever happened when you were a little girl, you see how you start attracting different men, you start attracting different types of relationships, different dynamics altogether, and you will show up completely differently in those, because you're changing, and so I really encourage everyone that's listening to this podcast, to really know that these things are not fixed. You're not going to always date the same kind of guys or women. You're not cornered into being in toxic relationships for the rest of your life. But the answer is with you. The answer is within you. It's not with them. For you to be in a toxic relationship, chances are that there's a certain level of toxicity within you as well. And being a victim and being on the receiving end of, let's say, abusive behavior and so on, it is also toxic. Accepting for someone to treat us badly, accepting for someone to not show up for us the way we deserve, and staying in a situation that is not healthy for us and not loving and not caring and not kind is toxic as well. So um we carry the keys to our happiness, and it's really a dance between I and I, between me and me, always.
Beautiful, beautifully put, Natalie. Also, do you agree with this perspective? Uh, I mean, yes, it is um, exploring sexuality or self pleasure, um, and empowering from that ourselves. It is a very important aspect. But then also, when we are attracting kind of the right person, the right partner, I guess that partner themselves will also help you in empowering yourself. I mean, he or she will not make you feel guilty about um, exploring your own journey inside out. They'll not make you feel that you're not giving much attention to me. You are not thinking about me. You are just thinking about your own healing, about your own self care, and you're always thinking about giving more time to yourself. But what about me? That's what I somehow believe. I mean, do you agree with this, Natalini, or do you have something else that you think?
um Absolutely. I mean, I feel like anyone that loves or cares for you would be so happy and so overjoyed that you are taking good care of yourself, and you are showing up for yourself. And when they see that you're feeling better, it should in theory make them happy and make them love you more. With a caveat, however, I want to say that uh, where I find myself in my journey today, I still haven't really been in a healthy relationship. I haven't experienced that yet. So I don't want to sit here and be all knowledgeable and give you a ton of advice that I've read on books and listened to in podcasts, but I've never experienced firsthand. um where I am is like, I was able to get out of abusive relationships, I was able to get out of toxic partners, I've been able to heal and to find that love for myself and that respect for myself, to say no to partners that are not good for me. But I still haven't, that's the next step, is to actually be with someone that and build like a healthy relationship. And I haven't experienced that. So I can't really um, show up as an expert, but I can show up as someone that's kind of being very interested in that, and has gotten a lot of information about it. And based on this information, I think you're absolutely right. If a person is not happy that you are taking care of yourself, and is not able to give you that space and that that kind of breathing space for you um to continue becoming, for you to continue discovering yourself so that you can love each other even more, then probably that person needs to walk a certain path themselves. But also, if you get that feedback a lot from your partners, perhaps there's something for you to look at as well. Maybe there's a way in which kind of having keeping distance and sort of not allowing for partners to come too close or to spend too much time together. Maybe you find some sort of sense of control or sense of safety in that. It's intricate things. So yeah, it's never simple. It's very layered stuff.
You're right. You're right. I just brought up this because some skeptics, they might outrightly dismiss this expression of self pleasure or sexuality, and kind of dating yourself too much individualistic or selfish, which I absolutely dismiss. It is not. It is not. That's why I just wanted to bring in a bit of a neutral perspective to this, because
Yeah.
it's a very rare equation to find, especially in these days right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like we're starting to shift our perspective on, and of course it's still early days. It's still not sort of like a mass, uh, you know, um, it's not culturally accepted yet, but there is a shift in the way we're perceiving the term being selfish. We've been sort of shamed and guilt tripped for needing space, or for taking care of ourselves, or for meeting our needs, or for having a self-esteem, or for believing in ourselves and believing in our qualities and knowing what we're good at and what we're not good at, and so on. And of course there is a line between being cocky or being um egoistical, like that of course happens, but there is a way of sort of being connected to yourself and being caring, loving, and showing up for yourself, that's extremely healthy and is extremely necessary for harmonious, beautiful, thriving human connections and relationships to happen, regardless if those are intimate relationships, if those are family relationships, friends, or work, or whatever it is. We're learning how to have boundaries. We're learning how to say no. We're learning how to prioritize ourselves. And, yeah, of course, some people will probably point fingers at that and label it something that it's not. But, you know, I hope that they understand one day too.
Absolutely. And uh, you have worked with icons like Deepak Chopra, Sadhguru, and global leaders. I mean, and yet you chose to walk away from that world to follow your inner voice. And this is such a bold step, Natalini. I really, really admire you for that. So, what did that process teach you about power, especially the kind of power women hold in their own bodies?
Um, Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a very difficult decision and a terrifying one. I was completely identified with my work, and it had become my agency. It had become my sense of self-worth, my way of sort of um yeah, my way of soothing my otherwise like very low self-esteem. And so pulling the plug of that was really equal to death. And in a way, I experienced a sort of ego death because for a moment I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was without that job. I didn't know who I was without these contacts, without the access, without the honors, without the, all of this. And and it was beautiful. I mean, I'm so happy and so grateful to myself for having the courage and the audacity to explore this and to experiment with this, because it gave me actually that sense of self-worth that comes from within, that doesn't come from outside. It gave me that deep, beautiful, very healthy connection to myself. um, um, Sort of, it took me on this journey of discovering who I am, discovering what I love, discovering what I'm good at, what my gifts are, what my talents are, getting in touch with my creativity. And, it's so interesting because we fear the worst, right? Like, we fear that I'm never going to work at that level again, and the world's going to forget about me, and nobody cares. And like, I lost all my kind of let's say, respect and all of that. And once I agreed to face that fear, what's happening right now in my career is that all of these people are coming back, and I'm working with Sadhguru again. I'm creating beautiful projects with the Isha Foundation. I'm surrounded by super inspiring and incredible leaders in the space of spirituality, wellness, health, um, um, art, creativity, and so on. So the fear didn't actually realize itself. But what happened is that now I no longer need these people in order to validate myself. I don't need them in order for me to feel like I matter. I don't need them in order for me to feel like what I do and what I create is worthy. I know that it is because I went all the way to the source of my pain, and I sat with it, and I held myself, and I loved myself, and I did it over and over and over again until something clicked. Something within me clicked, and the moment that something clicked, it started as a little flame, and then I started kindling that flame, and then it started kind of growing a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's been a long and slow process. But I've been patiently sort of kind of growing that relationship with myself. And when I was ready, when I was finally ready, all these people started coming back into my life. And now I'm creating with them. I'm creating with them, not for them. And I know that I have value, and I have what's the word, like a valuable contribution in that process. And I don't need whatever we're creating to to make me be something. I don't need it. I create now for the sake of creating. And that is so liberating. It's so beautiful because it really releases the creative process from all of my personal needs and projections coming from a traumatized place. And it makes the whole journey so much more pure and authentic, and it gives it so much integrity, and it's just incredible. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful to have gone through this process. It was not easy, but I'm on the other side, and I'm reaping the benefits. And I assure everyone, all of you, that once you stay true to yourself, life will reward you.
That is so passionately said, Natalini. I can feel that yes, there will be dark moments, there will be painful moments, fear will be there, but then conquering that fear and steering ahead, you basically become the front runner of your own identity. You create the power, and the like-minded people will definitely be with you.
Yeah,
That's really, really such an empowering and radical shift from external validation to internal sovereignty.
absolutely. Yes. It's beautiful.
Great. And before we wrap up, I think this is really such a bold perspective, not perspective. I think this is just such a bold statement that you describe pleasure as a birthright, but then also as a responsibility. So, what exactly do you mean by that, Natalie? And how do we navigate this responsibility? As a woman, if I ask you, without
Yeah.
turning into just another task in my self help or self care checklist.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it's not a task. That's it's a feeling, you know. I am very passionate and very sort of excited about the concepts of freedom and sovereignty. And one thing that I've learned deeply about sovereignty and freedom is that they come with responsibility. Freedom means that you are absolutely the captain of your life. You're the captain of your experience. You're the captain of everything that is allowed or not allowed into your own, into your own life. And that is the responsibility. Your pleasure is your responsibility. You know, you choosing partners that are able to please you is how you meet that responsibility, but even before that, you knowing knowing what your pleasure looks like. What does it need? What does it want? What does it say? If it could speak, what would it say? you know how does it want to be satisfied? It's for you to know. If you show up in relationships and expect for your partners to just figure you out and to just miraculously know, you're giving away agency. You're giving away your power, and you're falling into an experience that now is probably not what you deserve. And this here comes the whole idea of the birthright. Of course, we're born in these beautiful bodies that are equipped and created in a way that they experience pleasure. It's part of our design. So every single body has that ability. It has that function. So it's a given. Like the same way everyone's birthright is to breathe or to eat or the basic sort of needs. Pleasure falls into the same category for me. It's just, of course, along the way we completely kind of turned this around, and especially for women, we turned it around in a very bad way. But now women are waking up. Women are waking up and are starting to realize that we have absolute freedom over our bodies, but that also means that we have absolute responsibility over our bodies, which means that if someone is being disrespectful, if someone is being abusive, if someone is not honoring my needs, even though I have communicated them clearly, it is absolutely my responsibility to take myself out of the situation and to not allow it ever again. So um, it's like, we romanticize freedom a lot, we romanticize sovereignty a lot, and rightfully so. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful sort of guiding principle for all of us to have. However, we need to understand that once you're free, you hold agency. You're whole. And what this means is that it's nobody else's fault. You decide, you hold the power. And so kind of bringing that energy back to our bodies, back to our way of like carrying ourselves through this world, is a big process. And when it happens, though, it's absolutely liberating and it's beautiful.
Mm. Yes, that is beautiful. And you're absolutely right. It's just not another task or job to do. I think it is a way of being then that reweaves us into life. So thank you for
Absolutely.
beautifully putting it for our listeners, especially all the women out there. And Natalia, if our listeners would like to connect with you, what will be the best way to do that?
You can find me on Instagram at just Natalini. You can find me on LinkedIn at Natalini Joy. And also, soon I'll be launching a YouTube channel at just Natalini as well. So, yeah, please connect. Um, I share a lot of these things on my platforms and be happy to share more with you.
Lovely, lovely. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And Natalie, thank you so, so much. I truly, truly admire your fierce wisdom, your lived experiences. It's kind of the shared experiences on which we have had conversations. But I really, really so much connected with your journey of healing and exploring the sexual power within you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's a pleasure always to be talking to you, and thank you for the amazing work that you do. It's so meaningful and so beautiful, and please keep going.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words and blessing, Natalini. And listeners, I hope that today's conversation has sparked something within you. And I know that, you know that your body holds the key to healing and liberation. So don't shy and take the golden nuggets from this conversation. Connect with Natalini and stay tuned for her upcoming YouTube channel as well. Until next time, keep listening, keep feeling, and keep claiming your pleasure. This is the Pleasure Principles with your host, Sana. Thank you.